Sodom and Gomorrah, two names that have haunted the human imagination for millennia. Did these infamous cities truly exist? What cataclysmic force could have wiped them from the face of the earth? Were the tales of their destruction twisted by time, translation, or agenda? Brace yourself for a journey into one of history's most explosive mysteries. We're about to challenge everything you thought you knew about this biblical enigma. Picture a world where entire cities vanish in the blink of an eye, leaving nothing but whispers and legends. Now imagine uncovering the truth behind such a catastrophe, a truth so earth-shattering it could rewrite history and shake the very foundations of faith. Join us as we unleash cutting-edge science on ancient myths, dig through layers of misunderstanding, and piece together clues scattered across time and sand. From crumbling manuscripts to hidden archaeological sites, we'll follow a trail of evidence that has eluded scholars for generations. For centuries, explorers and archaeologists have combed the Dead Sea region for clues, and although most experts have agreed that if Sodom and Gomorrah existed, they would likely have been situated near the Dead Sea, a lifeless body of water at the lowest point on Earth's surface. The exact location has been shrouded in controversy. Some pointed to vague landmarks or ancient writings, others simply shook their heads, claiming it was all just a myth. But then, a breakthrough. In the early 2000s, a team of archaeologists stumbled upon something remarkable in Tal el-Hammam, a massive city buried beneath layers of ash and rubble. This wasn't just any city. It showed signs of sudden, catastrophic destruction. The evidence pointed to an explosion so intense that it melted pottery and left a thick layer of ash coating the entire area. This wasn't normal. This was catastrophic. Could this charred ruin be the remains of Sodom? Tal el-Hammam wasn't alone. To the south in Bab ed-Dra, archaeologists had found similar clues, a once thriving settlement buried under layers of ash. The eerie parallels between the sites were hard to ignore. Two massive cities, both obliterated in fiery disasters. Could one of these sites be the infamous Sodom and Gomorrah? Both Tal el-Hammam and Bab ed-Dra share a common feature, a layer of destruction marked by extreme heat. Buildings and artifacts were charred and blackened. Pottery was melted by intense flames. The cities were consumed by fire, leaving behind charred remains and melted relics. But what caused this devastation? Some experts suggested a natural disaster, perhaps a gas explosion triggered by a powerful earthquake. After all, the region is part of the Dead Sea Transform Fault, a tectonic zone notorious for its volatile activity. If a gas pocket were ignited during an earthquake, it could have created a fiery inferno powerful enough to decimate an entire city. This theory made sense, a fiery explosion, triggered by the very earth itself. But then new evidence emerged, suggesting a far more extraordinary explanation, a cosmic impact. In 2018, a group of researchers studying Tal el-Hammam proposed a mind-bending theory. What if the city wasn't destroyed by an earthquake, but by a meteor or comet airburst? A powerful explosion that occurred when a cosmic object detonated in the atmosphere, creating a shockwave that incinerated everything in its path. The results would have been nothing short of apocalyptic. Intense heat, a massive shockwave, and a firestorm capable of melting buildings, pottery, and anything in its wake. The same cataclysmic event that flattened 2,000 square kilometers of forest in Siberia in 1908, the Tunguska event, could have wiped out these cities, leaving behind only charred ruins and twisted blackened stones. The researchers found compelling clues: pottery that had been vitrified, melted to glass by extreme heat, and high concentrations of sulfur and iridium, elements often associated with impact events. This matched the biblical description of fire and brimstone raining down from the heavens. But was it proof? Could this cosmic airburst be the fiery hand of God that erased Sodom and Gomorrah from the face of the earth? One of the most famous elements of the Sodom story is the tragic fate of Lot's wife, who was turned into a pillar of salt for looking back at the burning cities. It's a vivid image, etched into history. But could it be real? Some geologists believe that these salt formations, which stand like sentinels along the southern shore of the Dead Sea, may have inspired this story. Formed by wind and water erosion, these salt spires do resemble human figures. But is this merely coincidence? Or could the ancient authors have seen these strange formations and woven them into their narrative? The salt pillars could have served as a powerful visual reminder of the biblical tale, an ancient warning carved into stone. Yet for centuries, no one had ever found any solid proof of Sodom's existence. But everything was about to change. So what really happened to Sodom and Gomorrah? Did these cities ever exist, or are they merely symbols of sin and divine retribution? For centuries, there was only speculation. But now, at Tal el-Hammam, researchers are piecing together the final, undeniable proof. Signs of a once thriving city suddenly obliterated. A city covered in a thick layer of ash and charred remains. A city that bore the marks of a devastating, fiery event. As each piece falls into place, the evidence becomes harder to ignore. A layer of burned earth, melted structures, destruction by fire and heat that surpasses any natural disaster. And then, the final piece. Chemical traces that match impact events, just as the ancient text described. Could this be the true story behind the biblical fire and brimstone? The ruins don't lie. The cities are real, their destruction was real, and it all happened exactly as the Bible said. One thing is certain, Sodom and Gomorrah were not just myths. They existed, were destroyed, and their remains are still buried under layers of ash and time, waiting to tell their story. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery. Until next time, remember, sometimes the most unbelievable stories are the ones that turn out to be true.